Webflow released the new AEO playbook, and I have been digging deep into it, and I created another video about this. You guys can check it out. I'll leave it in the link somewhere below. However, out of this playbook, I crafted my own checklist, and I used the most up-to-date technologies to write this. Yes, I did that. Now note, we're not optimizing for Google anymore. We have to think about answer engine optimization, which is AEO, and this is optimizing for things like ChatGPT or Perplexity and how it displays information about our brand. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to go through the items one by one, and I'm going to apply it to my website. So let's get started. So I'll leave the checklist here, and we're going to go through the items one by one. Now I broke this checklist into different sections: technical, content, authority, performance, and measurement. This almost reflects what's mentioned in the playbook. So do check the playbook out, and let's start. Now we're going to start with the technical stuff, the backbone, because if we don't get this right, the bots, whether Google or AI agents, can't really read our site. First thing, we check the domain. I check my hosting settings, I go to my site settings, and I make sure that HTTP redirects to HTTPS. So if I go to publishing, and then we also set the domain make default as Webflow recommends, which is www. Now, if you have a different setup, you might set this differently, but the default is www. This seems basic, but it ensures the safe domain, and this is mostly provided by default by some domain provider. You have the SSL certificate by default, and that's done. So if I go to my website now, I go to our website, we can see that it has the HTTPS correctly. So this is correct. Great. Let's move on. While we're here in the publishing settings, we can go look at minification. So this is the next step. So let's toggle this on. So the next step is minification. While we're here, we go to the minification of the codes. We can toggle on HTML, CSS, and JS. And we do this because we want the load times to be as quick as possible, so bots can read our website faster and our website can load faster altogether. So this is done. Now we jump over to the SEO tab. So I go to the SEO tab. And as you can see here, the global canonical URL, I'm pasting the base URL in here, and this stops duplicate content problems. If someone shares a link with the weird tracking parameters, the bots know what is the base URL. So we just add that here, we save and publish. This is step 3. After that, we go to sitemaps and robot.txt. I usually open a new tab. So if I go to my website and I open a tab of sitemap.xml, just to make sure that my sitemap actually loads and it looks good. Luckily, Webflow auto-generates this for us, so we don't have to worry much about it. We just need to double check it. Also, the robot.txt setting example is here. So this is a default setting. I left it for you. So if you have a different setting, of course, you can change it. And you can turn off this remove sitemap XML from robot.txt. So if I go to my robot.txt as well, so let's just go robots.txt. I can see that my sitemap is mentioned here, and this is because I toggled this off. Now, if you have a different setting, maybe you have to show a different sitemap. Maybe you have some site disallowed, so you can add the sitemap here and toggle this on. You also have these traffic controls from Webflow, allow search engine crawlers, allow artificial intelligent bots. I'm not sure what these do exactly, but they obviously help with AEO ranking. So maybe turning them on will not harm. So we check the sitemap section. Now we move on. Another thing we're adding to the workflow is the llms.txt. This is a new step where we create a file called llms.txt, and it lists important information, key routes like homepage, pricing page, and this helps AI agents find them without digging through the entire website code. So you can generate this with ChatGPT or other LLMs. So if I go to llms.txt, and you can see that this is the information that I laid out in my llms.txt file. Again, you can generate this with another AI. Now, there are debates on whether this is useful or not, but there is no harm in having it. Luckily, Webflow has the section for it, so you can make your file, make sure it's in TXT format, upload it here, and then you're good to go. So let's check that one. Last thing I have in the technical section is the accessibility. Accessibility is important. I'm using a Wave tool here, which is a free, reliable tool, and we can run quick audits on our website. So if I add my website here and I run an audit, and we see how accessible the site is. Now, AI models really favor accessible content. Now, see, I have some errors here. For example, the form is missing a label. This is a common problem because in design, usually we remove the label, can add the label even if it's hidden or opacity 0, just make sure the label is there. It's good for accessibility. Now, if the screen reader can't read your site, the AI might not be able to read it. So make sure your site is accessible. Let's check this and let's move on. Now we're moving on to content, and this is where we format things so the AI can easily summarize our information. So let's go to the page. So starting with JSON LD schema, so this is schema markups, and this is the biggest factor for AEO and SEO as well, actually. And it's even more important than the LLMs.txt because this sits right in your head tag. Luckily, Webflow now added a section or added a feature that you can generate sitemap right there and then. So if you go to your page settings and you go to sitemap, just like I did just now quickly, this auto-generates a schema markup using AI. It scans your page, it auto-generates a basic schema markup, so you have something to work with, but you can generate further information with your own AI tool. Now, the basic stuff that Webflow gives you is enough, but if you want, you can go further, of course. Just make sure to double check this with the rich text or rich result test. So this is a Google website. So once you have your schema in there, you publish, you can go and check your site. So if I go to yar.website, and I test the URL just to see how everything's going and if everything's correct. So testing URL, let's see how this goes, fingers crossed. So I have 2 valid items detected, FAQ and profile page. And if we go to my schema, I can see that I have 2 scripts. So this is the profile page and this is the FAQ page. So type is important and this is what is the items. So I have 2 items. And if you have more than 1 item, just make sure you have them in a separate script so that it's separated. And this is good for the bot to read your site. So make sure you have that done. So this is done. We have it correctly done. Next is answer first formatting. Now, looking at the actual text on the page, AI prioritizes immediate answers. So my paragraph should be the answer to my title and it should be there immediately. If you have a long text in an article or so, try to make sure that the formatting is what you would expect an AI to give to the user. Think of your content like the answers you would expect in the ChatGPT conversation, especially the paragraphs. So this is answer first formatting. After that, we have visible last date update. Now, if you have an article, it's really good that you have the dynamic field that says last updated. This is a small signal, but it helps because AI favors new content. You can also add this to the schema to tell the AI that this content is updated. So if I go to my schema markup and I scroll through, if I go to the FAQ section, you can see I have date modified. So this tells the AI that this information is up to date. So this is visible. Next, question-based heading. Now, this is mentioned in the AEO playbook as question clustering, something like that. And this is important because we can also try to make the question format. Think of your headings like the query that the users ask to ChatGPT. So for example, here I have, instead of about, I have who am I? So it's a question. Might not be as powerful as it would be in an article. So for example, if you have in an article, instead of putting the heading as benefits, you can say what are the benefits, and this is question-based heading. This mirror natural language, and this really helps in matching your information with the queries. So this is question-based heading. After that, we have summary snippets and table of content. So this is TOC, table of content. If you have a long article, it's good to have a table of content at the top. This helps with indexing what's on your page. I have another video on table of content. I've done it a long time ago, I think, using the FinSuite tools. FinSuite gives you the tools to make a table of content on your rich text. So do use that if you have a long article. And summary snippets, so that's key takeaways. It goes at the top. I think I have an article to show you. So I have an article here. So this is like a TLDR snippet. It's at the top of the article. And this helps bots understand what are the main points on my article without going through the entire thing. So this is summary snippets and table of content. Next is readability. So I'm checking my readability tool. So this is a readability tool I added here. This helps us simplify our language. Simple language is easier for models to process confidently. So you can scan your website and see if your content is readable. I'll leave a link so you can audit your site here. So this is the tool. So this is readability. And next we have authority and trust. So this is basically proving we are a trusted source. I'm looking at the blog post again. We need to make sure that the author bio isn't a dead end. I'm going to link this name to the LinkedIn profile so the AI can connect the dot to the real expertise. For example, if my LinkedIn profile says I'm a developer and then the article is about code, the AI can connect the dots and say, okay, this is reliable. So always make sure that there is an author and the author is linking somewhere. The playbook does mention that, so it's mentioning EEAT, so it's expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Again, I explained that in the other video and you can see it in the playbook as well. You can check it out, read more about it. So this relates to the author bio and social links. Then we have about page trust signals. So we need to validate that we are a real business. If we're a physical business, we need to include our address on the about page. Let's go to the about page. We need to include the basic information, the contact information. Just make sure that the information there validates the organization entity. So this is for the about page. Next is claim knowledge panels. So we can quickly make a search and check if your brand appears in Crunchbase or Wikipedia and see if you can claim those information, and making sure that the information matches what I have on my website, what I have on my bio page on LinkedIn, and making sure that everything is correct and everything matches and what is said about my brand is what I want the AI to be giving you to users. So this is claim knowledge panels. Now I don't have Wikipedia pages yet, but if you do have them, do try to claim it. Finally, for authority is citation audits. Now, back on my blog, I scan for claims I've made and I'm gonna add links where it links to the real source. AI sometimes hallucinates, and if you add the sources, it can hallucinate less and we can back up our claims with proper citation. So this works if you have articles and you wanna cite them, so do that. Next, we have performance and visuals. So this is section 4, and it's pretty standard stuff, but user experience do affect ranking. First thing, we check the speed, page speed inside. So this is like Google Lighthouse, and we make sure, so I'm gonna do a test and analyze. We're gonna make sure that the LCP is less than 2.5 and the CLS is less than 0.1, because if the site is slow, the crawl will not be as efficient. So just make sure you audit your site on PageSpeed Insight or Google Lighthouse. After that, we go to the images. We're going to go to the asset manager and we're going to make sure that the images are served in the proper WebP format. So for example, here I can see that this is AVIF. WebP or AVIF works. We make sure that we have a descriptive text. Now this doesn't have a descriptive text. I'm not using this image, but just if you're using this image, just make sure you have a descriptive alt text, and this is good for SEO and now AEO. Finally, we have mobile responsiveness. So I'm just going to toggle into mobile view in the designer to manually check the tab targets, manually check the design, making sure that it's correct, because remember, mobile first indexing is still the rule. Let's check that. Lastly, we need to know if all of this is working, and this is measurement. First, it's Google Search Console. You submit your site to Google Search Console, you submit your sitemap as well. You can connect with your domain provider, so it automatically connects with your domain provider and adds a TXT record on your DNS settings. Usually this is automatically done if you have GoDaddy or Namecheap or something like that. And if you add the TXT record on your DNS settings, just make sure that it's not re-added here on the Google verification. So if I go to SEO, so here I have Google site verification. Now, if you added your TXT records on the DNS settings on your domain provider, you don't need to add it again here, just to not make it duplicated. So this is that. Also make sure you submit your sitemap, because this is really good for indexing. So this is that step. Now for AEO, we have something that the playbook calls share of voice. You basically look for your brand through the AIs, see what users are asking for and how is your brand appearing. So this is AI and brand mentioning using with share of voice techniques. And then about that, so if you see sentiment analysis, so if you do show up, you look at the context, is it mentioned positive, neutral, or negative? And the sentiment analysis is basically a new metric as well, so you need to check that. So that's basically it for the workflow. It takes a little extra time to go through the answer engine specific stuff like schema and llms.txt, but it's where search is heading, so make sure you have those set up. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video, and I'll leave the link to this checklist in the description so you guys can download it. And yeah, see you in the next video.